First of all, I'd like to thank Mark and Gavin from Abbey Locks for allowing me to do this and show you. We've only got an hour. Normally, I train this over a full day. Unfortunately, you're not going to have any hands-on experience. Normally, when you do a day's training with myself, each will bump open between 100 and 150 different various locks throughout that day. And that's everybody goes home with sore thumbs and looking like Popeye, been on spinach sort of thing. What is lock bumping? It's basically the art of opening a lock using a modified key. That is basically a modified key, which is a bump key. Some people say, oh, a bump key is just a key that is cut all the way down to its deepest cuts. Most bump keys are, but I will be showing you a few in the next hour which don't stick to that rule, and that is why some of the one-star cylinders would not work with the standard bump key. Lock and key preparation and tools required. I always say lock bumping is the cheapest form of any locksmithing tool gadget out there. We all replace old cylinders, take them off a customer's door, normally got one key with it or a couple of old keys. Keep the cylinder. It's a good cylinder to practice bumping with. And any old keys that you get, you can cut into bump keys. That's how a bump key comes when we supply, always with. There are some companies there that will supply a bump key with the shoulder already taken off. Come on, we're all locksmiths. We can all take off a little stop off of a key if we need to. When you make copies of any key that you buy, it is easy to do it if you leave the stop on, because you just put it in the machine, put it up to the shoulder, and just cut another one and keep that one as an original and in a safe. So once you bought a bump key, you can make loads after it on the same one. You need a bump hammer. Some people use screwdrivers. I used to use a screwdriver many years ago, but when it's wet, whatever, a screwdriver can slide out of your hand. These are the Brockhoge ones, which are different flexes. The white is a soft flex, and the black one is a hard flex. You can buy them in pairs, but you can never ever use both hammers at the same time. So we come up with this hammer, which is in between the flex of both those two Brockhoge ones. Yeah, because you only ever use them one at a time. Also, when it's hot weather like it is today and your hands are whirling, sweating, that handle heats up, and that slides out your hand like that. So you don't get a good grip of some of these sometimes when it's hot and wet. With ours, you can see your hand goes in there, and if I hold on to that, just a minute, there you go, I've got a good grip on that. Go on, yeah, and it's not going to go in anywhere. And once you've got your bump hammer sorted, let's say that's the medium flex, you just see how that's flexing there. You need an assortment of dampeners. I carry, let me do this. You just see in there, there's just various washers, springs, tap washers, and the most popular of all that people use are these orange rings, which are sheep tail castration rings. When they come through the post and you've got a bag of 500 of them, the missus just gives you a funny look. You say, why have you got castration rings? But the advantage of those is, when you do putting the dampener on, you can add one onto it, you can add two onto it, and so on, or you can take one off. I will show you a little bit more about those later on. So that's the tools you need, and then finally just a can of WD or spray to lube the lock before you bump it. Every time you come up to a door, no customer ever lubricates a lock. If it's dry and the bump key's going in and grinding and pulling backwards and forwards, it will be very hard to bump. The key needs to be going in very smooth in and out before bumping will be able to take place. Many locks out there claim to be anti-bump, but an anti-bump lock cannot be bumped. Anti-drill, we can drill an anti-drill lock. It's just a little bit harder to use with a drill. So an anti-bump or bump-proof locks, yeah, they just make it a little bit harder to bump, but it's not saying that they can't be bumped. With my training day, I always teach 3 methods on bumping. So every time you buy a bump key, you can set that bump key up in 1, 2, or method 3. Method 1 is basically as the cylinder comes, as the bump key comes, sorry, like I said, with the shoulder on, and you do nothing to it. Just make a copy of it and just copy it exactly the same as that. And method 1, all you do is that you pull it out. It's going to be a bit awkward and unnatural. You pull it out just 1 notch. It's awkward on there. Try and put it in the vise. You still see that okay, everybody?
Yeah, fine.
Okay. The method 1 is if you pull it out 1 notch. There we are. And that is an ever standard profile cylinder. Yeah. Ever is one of the locks. ASIC is another one, which works very well with the method 1. Yeah. So as a bump key, this method, you've done nothing to it, and it works straight off as it comes. Method 2. Hands. Oh, the shoulder's broken off of that, but it's normally where you take a mil off of the shoulder, and you take a little bit of mil off the tip. So when the key goes in the lock, the spring pressure pushes the bump key out of fraction. Everybody see that movement? So with this method, you don't have to keep pulling the key out as in method 1. So method 1 was it was in 1 notch, hit. If it doesn't open, you got to pull it out another notch, hit, and just keep trying it that way. The method 2, you don't have to keep pulling the key out. There we are. That's method 2. Both method 1 and method 2 can cause damage. I'll just try and show you on there, on the face of the cylinder. You can just see it bruising and punching mark on there. A customer would not really ever moan that you've opened the lock and put a little mark on there. The original key going in and out will put a slight mark on that edge. So I wouldn't worry too much. But like I said, just be aware though that method 1 and method 2, it will mark the cylinder slightly. That's why most people prefer method 3, because method 3 is where we have the bump key, we remove all of the shoulder, literally build. There's the bump key with the shoulder removed, and then we just put on openers and packers to bounce it. Just get another couple of washers there, all gone. These washers do go a bit, I don't know if you can see that. They just go sticky as anything. They sort of perish in the weather. There we are. So that's method 3, using the dampener method. You don't have to use the sheep towel washers. You can use old lock springs. I've just cut it down like that. Again, no shoulder on it. A spring over the top. Just a little tip. When you are practicing at home in a vise, it is sometimes handy just to put a fixing screw. My hands are sweating like anything. Just put a fixing screw in the fixing hole, and you can see where the fixed screw is now stopping the cylinder moving in the vise backwards and forwards. That just bridges and braces it. So this is with the spring. Always spray your lock. So with the spring, exactly the same effect. I've got the trap cam on the bulb there. Now, in the vise, isn't it? It's a short cylinder. There we go. There we are. I've got 3 hands, see? Yeah. Little fake. Right, so let's say that's basically method 1, method 2, method 3. Some people, I've had a few on the forums at times to time said bumping is a trick, it's a con. All the locks that I have been altered, whatever. I'm hopefully going to just try and demonstrate that it is not, and just try methods 1, 2 and 3 on a brand new lock which hasn't even come out of the packet. You can see that this is a 8 cylinder, box is brand new, hasn't been opened. Still sealed in the bag and everything. Yeah. Look at the face of the cylinder, you can see that is brand new, there's no marks on it whatsoever. This is basically a virgin cylinder. I know it's a brand new lock, but we'll still spray it. There's the bump kit that we supply for this type of lock, again with the shoulder on. Ensure the bump kit goes in and out freely. There we are. That's method 1. That's it. Sometimes method 1 may not work. Method 2 may work a little bit better, or method 3 will work better than that. But I'm going to try and do it now where I'll do every method on this cylinder. So method 1 has worked. Method 2, we said about taking the shoulder back a few mil. Might be enough, we'll try it. So you just see there, you just hear it clicking. There's not a lot of movement, but it might just be enough to do it. What's happened is the stop has come off on that. You can see the stop has come off on there, so I've lost the chance of doing it method 2. Because the stop's come off, what I'll do, I'll just put a rubber washer on it. I will just show you how to set these up with washers in a second. You ever see it? There we go, that's method 3 without the shoulder, just the dampers on. Everybody always says, how do you know where to put the dampers on a lock? I'm trying to explain this. I'll get the angle so I can see what I'm doing. Everybody can see the key like that. Like, can people see that there? No.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can either set the. This will probably be easier. There's your bump key. Once you take that off, you can either set it so the pins will sit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or set it so you pin it there and the pins will sit 1, 2, 3, 4, and your fifth pin could be set on the tip. So that is what the difference between adding one washer or taking one washer off. It'll either push the key further in or it'll take the key further out. So if you've got the old cylinder in front of you, you can see the spacings of the pins there. You can line your bump key up with your pins and bring it back to there. One notch. So then you'd probably need 2 rubber washers on this one. Or if you want to be direct underneath each pin, you could probably get away with just one of the pink ones. But you'll can see where the shoulder has come off to. Yeah, so just basically cover over the shoulder. You can still see the shoulder a little bit on there. Yeah, which is why we end up putting 2 washers on. Never use washers with a bump key with the shoulder on. Yeah, if you notice that method 1 was just no washers, method 2 no washers, method 3 is washers, no shoulder. If you're going to use washers with a shoulder, all you're going to end up doing is every time you hit the key, the shoulder is going to just literally bite and cut through these rubber dampeners, and they'll only last 2 or 3 hits, and you'll keep replacing, throwing away. If there's no shoulder on there to cut through them, these will last you ages and basically until they perish. One of my pet hates is if I see a video, seeing somebody else say, oh, the bump key works, and they're showing me it with one rubber on and a shoulder on. I will pick you up on that, because that's not the way that I've taught anybody. Any questions on that so far?
No, I think that's pretty straightforward. We're going to do questions after. I think
Right,
that'll probably be better.
So that can be put there. Certain locks I've said about Ever, Ruco, Chubb, or Bryson. Ever. We'll come across these Ever restricted sections. Can you see how complicated that key section is? GPI. Yeah, GP1 or GPI. Yeah. To get a pick gun into one of these cylinders is you really need thin needles or whatever, and they break very easy. And I hate coming across Ever ones on a restricted profile because they just look like a nightmare. But if you remember when I first said when we started, Ever is the one cylinder that works well on method 1. Leave the shoulder on, bring it out one cut. With this, it's a quick snap. You want to try and get it to do it. You see how quick that it was snapped, and that I said to pick that with an electric pick gun, you'd be on there for quite a while. Just one thing about striking the key: if you're going to strike a key, don't get into the practice of going. Don't hit it the same way every time. Use the flex of the hammer to do the work for you and vary it. Like I said, you can see how that you can either hit there, do a single tap, do a double tap, one solid tap, a swing and tap. Like I said, just vary it. Everybody says, oh, you make it look easy. The reason I make it look easy is because if you notice, I'm not going to hit the key the same time every day, all day. If I just do that, and it hasn't done the first time, it's not going to do it the 100th time. So just bear that in your head, that vary it, and on one different tap, it will go. Ruco. We've got a Ruco in here. Another cylinder which everybody hates to come across is the good old Ruco cylinders. Again, these bumps just as well like as any other cylinder. I don't know how long people struggle with Ruco sometimes, but these, I've just sent a load of these Ruco keys out to Germany, and the person that bought them, he just sent me a picture last night, and he went, wow, he said, I cannot believe how they work. He said, I'm bumping Rucos open now within 3 or 4 hits on every Ruco that he's coming across. Chub, not so common now. Some of the older locksmiths probably will remember the Chub CB 6-pin cylinder. One of those cylinders, when you come across it, you read Chub on it, and it's no different than any other Chub lock. You think, oh wow, Chub, I'm going to walk away from that, I'm going to drill it, I'm not going to bother picking it. There you go, there's your Chub with your rubber damper on it. And again, I know a safe engineer that's bought this this certain bump key. He has this on a board with 4 locks on it, and he challenges every safe engineer to have a competition with him to see who can pick these 4 locks the quickest. He's won money every time with that bump key. Nobody can ever beat him picking the speed compared to using that bump key. People do say, Gavin and Mark's always heard this, that every time I put videos on Facebook, they say, oh, it's easier because you've got it in the vise. It's harder on a door, which is why I have one video which I filmed live out on a warrant. I'm not keen on filming when I'm out working for other companies, which is why I don't do loads of videos when I'm out on warrant work. I've done one, and that's the only video that I'll do, but you'll see me turn up to the door, spray the lock. When the warrant officer's got the camera pointing the right way, eventually you will see me bump the door open. She's filmed me, and she's filming the car that's behind me. Give a woman a camera. It's wrong. But it's a good video just to see that it does work live on jobs. Good old brie scent. I'm not going to cover the whole range of brie scent because I'll probably get a load of flack saying that I'm just certainly picking, but all these different lots will be different manufacturers. This is just a brie scent entry level E. Took a little bit of work and different tapping, different techniques, but again, it's gone. D, we'll do a D, yeah. This is the Bryson D range, yeah. We'll say no more about that one. Everybody knows what the D range is. It's the dimple. They're basic dimple level. That's what. Somebody did say the other day, oh, you can't do dimple locks by bumping. Again, hopefully, after today, you'll see that, yes, dimple locks can be bumped. That's that one. The BS is exactly the same, but I'm not going to show BS on the camera. Ultian. This is the old lock there. This is not the WXM. This is the old, the 3-star Ultian. I don't list, and I'm not selling the WXM bump keys at the moment. Yeah. They're still fairly new, but I probably will do in time. That's just how that one is set up. A lot of people ask me, how do you set them up? Just because this setup may be right for this lock, it does not mean that this setup will be right for every other ulti that I come across. That's why I said you always need a few of these little plastic washers and a few of these pink rings, just so you can alter it. And to know if you're anywhere near, if you can't take the lock apart and work out from the back to put your dampener on, if you hit it and click it, you should hear. Everybody hear that click? I don't know whether you can hear that picking up or not.
Yeah, we can hear it.
Yeah. But that tells you when you're near. That's the Ultian. What we're going to cover? UAP zero lift. They can go back in the drawer right top. When I said at the beginning, everything's bump keys are always cut to the deepest cut, this is where they end start up being slightly different. This is a bump key, believe it or not. It's the UAP zero lift bump key that we've developed. In position 2, you can see the high piece there. That is where the zero lift falls in this lock. So it's position 2, and the only other position that the zero lift could be in is position 5. So all this range of locks literally had the zero lift in pin 2 or pin 5. So you only need two bump keys basically, one with that high point at position 2 and one at position 5. Now, due to MACS, if anybody is sitting or sat the MLA exam or is going to sit the MLA exam, this is one question that may come up into it, is what does MACS stand for? And it's maximum adjacent cut specification. What that means is that when you have a high cut here, you can't have the deepest cut either side of that high cut. So if these deep cuts here, or either side of that, you would lose the peak of that high cut. To say that's a zero cut, the high peak, you can only cut down to a maximum of a depth 4. So that gives us 3 points of this bump key. So starting from the head, you've gone depth 4, depth 0, depth 4, and then these last 3 is depth 999. Yeah, so there's your bump key. If I forget to put the camera down, somebody just shout out. Ooh. With these, as I said, with the bump key having the high point, you don't want to get a lot of movement of the key going in and out. You near enough have to sort of hold the bump key in its original position to open it. It's half gone, but just going to reset it again. Yeah. So there's your zero lift, anti-bump cylinder. If that wouldn't have bumped, I said you can't really work out where that zero lift pin is in the cylinder. So as long as you've got the 2 bump keys set up with that same washer on, it only takes a couple of minutes just to put 1 bump key in, try it, and you think, oh, hang on, that's not feeling right. I'll switch to the other one with the zero lift in position 5, and the barrel will move more when you've got the correct zero tip lined up with it, and then you'll notice the bump key you use. So that's your zero. Let's let me go on that top as well, Marion. Now we're coming across to these other 1 stars. There's an ERA, 1 star BS, and there's also V6 and Eurospec
NPX6.
NPX6. That's it. Again, these bump keys aren't cut to just. You just see there's different heights in them. Don't ask me why, but this method, it's not a full pull out of the key, 1 cut. It's about a half. So as long as you get the pins sitting on the peak of the bump key, which I'm going to try and balance it.
Bit of a job, isn't it?
Job just to get it set. There we are. And this method with this bump key works very well on all this 3 range of cylinders. Like I said, it's not, just don't think you can just cut them down to the deepest cuts, because this is why we take the locks apart. These pins here are thicker and thinner, like a T-shaped sort of pin. And if you had a normal bump key, the pins would not touch the bottom part of the bump key. So that's the...
Yeah, right.
Yep. Now we're just going to go on to this board behind me. I don't know if anybody can see it. Just to prove that I'm not going to do everything in my hand or on a vice. I'm going to try and make it look like that I'm on a door. Excuse me, my throat's going dry. This is just an Aldridge brass padlock. I know one about cylinder locks, but don't just think it's all Euro cylinders. It's padlocks, it's round shop door cylinders, Euro cylinders, oval cylinders, rim cylinders. So this is the padlock. You see that's undone there. I'm not going to let it go because I've got to bump it again and then lock it back up. That can go in that blue tin there. I think it's easy from there. This is a multi-lock garrison, just a 7x7 garrison. There's your garrison bumped open. This one is a Cheeser Astral, just a standard Cheeser Astral cylinder. With some of the dimple ones, you're best to use a hard washer on it. You don't want too soft washers on these, because as they work on the tip, if you put a soft washer on, the key goes in and out the lock too far, and it'll just burr the tip over. The washers don't come off of those. This is a Yale BS Coat Mark KTM cylinder. That's one star KTM. Bumped open. And hooply, everybody know what a hoop I mean by when we say hooply? They have these massive plated handles on steel doors, and they have 3 bolts at the top coming out, or 2 or 3 bolts coming out the bottom. It's a cheap Chinese sort of cylinder. There we are. And there's your hooply. Bumped open. Is it all covered on there? Yeah, finished. So hopefully that's giving you, yeah, we catch up with the film. Hopefully that's giving you a good idea of seeing what can be bumped. I'm just going to cover a couple of the pitfalls of bumping. Any cylinder that has trap pins in will not bump. Don't even attempt to. If you attempt to bump it, you're going to end up like that with the cylinder trapped in that cocked position. It will just jam the bump key in position. You won't be able to move it. You won't be able to bump it back round. The only way is to snap the key off and just drill the cylinder. And there's one of my results on a warrant once. What a nice result. Yeah. Trap pins can either be, you can see running down there on this cylinder, or on the ATK. You can see the trap pins are sitting on this barrel edge there. Yeah. So it's a good idea to know which cylinders do use trap pins. On my Facebook group, there is a chart in the download, in the file section, which you can print off, and has basically pictures of every cylinder that I've come across so far with trap pins. They can go next to the print. Yal have also come up with a brilliant anti-bump device. There is a Yal BS rim cylinder. The old cylinders used to be a nice, real, round, solid brass, real quality cylinder, and they used to bump a tree. For some reason, they now cut these cylinders and make them out of this aluminium and cut down all the barrel and use these plug-ins at the back, just these soft aluminium plugs to hold the pins in. Excessive bumping, that is what was caused by me trying to bump it once. Yeah, the cylinder quality now of a lot of these Yale cylinders is very poor. So just be aware that sometimes a lock that is over bumped can end up with the pins flying out the top. Yeah, so bumping, yes, if not worked or used correctly, it can damage certain locks. So that's trap pins. Pitfalls, another pitfall is going to try and demonstrate on this one. I will just drop the camera in a sec. This is an Abus Pfaffenhain cylinder. I'm just going to do a standard bump first. Now, without pushing the key in, I'm just going to turn the bump key. And if you'll notice, it didn't engage the cam. So I'm just going to re-bump it again. And now this time, I'm going to push against that dampener. And there we are, you can see it has picked up the cam. So it's good practice to say that whenever you bump a lock, as soon as it goes, push the key in against the springs and the dampeners in case it is a thumb turn, just to pick up that thumb turn. That can go in that plug as well. Time's getting on. I did say to somebody the other day that I will cover Grundmann GG. Everybody hates a GG Grundmann cylinder. You can see there. For a lot of the harder cylinders, we do like a set of 4 bump keys. Are they bump keys? They can be used as bump keys, but we do this for 6 lever, 6 pin Yale leg, Union, Viro, and they come numbered 1 to 4. Yeah, you can see that one's got number 1 on it, number 2, so on. What I've done, that was the original key. Lay them out here. That's 1, 2, 3, and 4. The idea of these is that I've set them up just like a normal bump key. Took the shoulder off and just put dampeners on. It is quicker to go through rather than going through 1, pull it back, hit it, goes in, doesn't open, pull it back, hit. So I'll just convert them into a bump key setup. And the idea of it is you go through bump key number 1, just spend a few seconds on it. That's actually done it number 1. But if number 1 hadn't have done it, after that little while you go on to number 2. Exactly the same. They are all cut different, they're not the same bump key. No. We'll go to number 3. Still hear all that clicking, so it's very close. Number 3, no joy. Then finally just number 4. Let's take it out of my hand now. I'm going to switch to our bump hammer. And I'm getting no joy with number 4. But like I said, but if number 1 hadn't have worked this lock, there's a good chance that number 2, number 3, number 4 would have worked. It depends on the combination inside this lock. But you get better results with the set of 4 than you would just with one GG, say 5-pin bump key. So that's the set 4. Have I just got time to cover a couple of the other things? If you go onto the website, we are mainly bump keys. It's done in sections. Excuse me. This is the list of how the website is split into sections. You have 5-pin bump keys. You can just search, do it in the search engine. Just type in a certain lock like bird, yow, unit. It will come up with all the bump keys available. There's also 6 and 7-pin bump key. British standard 6-pin single bump keys. As I said, the active, the ASIC, things like that, you don't need a pair or 4. You can just use one bump key. There's a whole set of like UAP bump keys. There's padlock bump keys, tubular bump keys, dimple, high security, all that. And then obviously we do the sets. We do beginner sets, Bryson sets, 6-pin sets, and everybody keeps asking, what set do you think I should order? I can never answer that question. And it's always the question that I wish I could put on the form to say, please do not ask me this question. 1, I do not know what locks you lot struggle opening. If you can open a GG 5-pin, why order a bump key? If you're confident that you can open it every time. If you struggle with it, order a bump key and see how you get on with it and see if that makes your life a lot easier. What locks? Somebody might not ever come across a GG in a certain area. They might come across loads of car lefts and you struggle with a car left. If you do, well then there you go. Buy a car left bump key. And always have more than one method of opening it. And not just the drill. You've got the EPG, or you got the bump key, or you got like hand brakes and stuff. Yeah, always have more than one weapon in your arsenal or armory. Like I said, Ruco. I don't come across Asa Ruco much more my way, but I know a bloke in Scotland every day he's coming across Asa Ruco cylinders. We also do like the ultimate set. People say, oh, they love bump, and they suddenly fall in love with it. It says, I want to buy every bump key that you list. Well, I'm sorry, but I list 300, 350 bump keys. Nobody on this earth will ever use all those bump keys. And bump keys are universal. Yeah, an ICO will probably work a Yale rim cylinder because it's a 5-pin. It's the same profile. So if the bump key goes in, there's a good chance that it will bump that lock. The only reason why I list them under separate names, like for padlocks and certain things, is because if you come across a load of locks on a storage yard, say Blue Spot, which is a good example here. If anybody's ever done my training in this padlock, they'll realise how heavy these padlocks are. I know they're only cheap. It's a cheap Chinese copy of a Cobham padlock. But we had a storage yard that had all these on their yard in a steel case, so you can just basically just get the key in from underneath. Now they've probably got 80 units that have all got this padlock on. What's the quickest way for me to go? You imagine laying down 3 foot high off the ground when it's raining to try and pick, drill, working upside down on these locks. And I thought the quickest way, on the section, is I'll stand up for this, is just to get a bump key. Yeah, just bump the padlock open. Yeah, so it's all that hassle drilling, getting grit in your eye, spraying it, or uncomfortable. I could even actually, I do a little trick sometimes with that little hammer and bump it, but I'm not going to, that's not normally first thing where I'll show you. You don't need a big hammer to do bumping. Yeah, that top as well now. Yeah. Obviously, bump hammers, I've explained that we do our own bump hammers with the website across on there. The special key sets I've covered. We do depth and space keys. Mortise key sets. I'm going to do mortise key master keys very soon. Master keys. And we do a few locksmith tools. Every locksmith, Mark and Gavin, are no different to me. We all like coming up with different little tweaks of our tools that we can make, which help our life a lot easier. Everybody's seen thumb turn wires. I think nearly every company now is doing their own thumb turn wires. But if a locksmith certainly hasn't ever seen a piece of wire turn a British standard thumb turn, you need to invest and get yourself one of these thumb turn wires. I'm not going to show you, because I'm sure we've all seen it on here. The padlock enforcer. This is probably the first thing that I ever did come across. Gave me the buzz. It was something like an abloy style discus padlock. That's the original key. The padlock's open. And the padlock's locked. And people say, oh, that's just an Allen key ground down. That is not just an Allen key ground down. These Allen keys we have tried probably 6, 7 different makes until we found the one that gives us the strongest, because these do need to be forced round. I think need the mortgage now. Yeah. So you can see it's been cut down to go into the keyway. You literally force the whole plug round. I will just force that back again. The padlock's relocked. Now the customer, or on a warrant, they come back with the original key. Padlock works fine. They don't even know anybody's been in. Like I said, it does look like a normal Allen key, but if you look there, there's no twist or bend on that. And we did try and source these qualities for ages to try and find something that was hard enough to force these around. I have done high security close shackle padlocks with that as well. That's just one of the tools that we've come up with on the site, which you'll see in videos. We have got 4 or 5 more in the pipeline for the Adam Wright cylinders. I'm not going to show them here because this is more of a bump than the Shub 3R35. Anybody quickly just show you that? I think Gavin made a wire. That's all you can see from the outside. It's basically just an escutcheon. All that does go through there. And it does handle of that. I was sitting down, but you normally lean the tool up. Yeah, it is pulling that plunger in there. So that's just another little toy. Just finally, just set on to bump keys. Only got 5 minutes left. That's the Owl, Magnum, Superior, whatever. They say, will it bump? I can show you me bumping this one, and I have made a bump key, but it's not 100% on all the locks that I've tried. This bump key will probably work on 1 in every 4 to 5 cylinders that I've tried. So as a selling point, I wouldn't sell it because I'm not confident that it's going to open enough out there in the field. But I'll carry one just to get me out of the crap if I come across one. Chinese smiley.
Alarm.
There you go, that's undone. Again, just as a little bit unusual, I'm just going to take this off the ring. If you use bump keys, don't use them on a ring. They just get in the way and just rattle about and miss you hitting up. I'm just trying to do this here. There we are. Very good. Put them back on the ring now. Thank you. Just finally the last one. Nice old squire. We all come across padlocks. Like behind a gate, you come across, you've got to put your hands through a gate and try and pick it. They're the wrong side and stuff. This will be a bump and will probably help you. You put one hand through holding the bump key, another hand with the bump hammer. Far better than trying to put tension wrench in, get a pick gun, as well as angle the padlock correctly. Yeah. Bumping is not the answer to everything, and not the be all and end all of every locksmith's dream. Far from it. Don't think that bumping is going to get you out and undo every lock you come across. It is not 100% effective on every lock going. There'll be certain combinations on some locks, say an Ultian or Astral or even Garrison. Yeah, if the pin combination is high and a low, high, low, whatever, you will struggle. It will bump if you hit it hard enough, if you get the dampness correct, it's sprayed and lubricated. If the lock's a little bit dry, if it's worn sometimes, there's loads of different factors which will probably stop you from being able to bump it. Shavo, if you go to Shavo cylinders, I've been on there on warrant and I've sprayed a Shavo lock for 5 minutes and I've never seen so much black come out of a cylinder as I do Shavo. Yeah? But just keep spraying it until it runs clear. And on a final note, there was a ASIC one I had on a warrant once, standard 5-pin ASIC. I was there, 5 minutes bumping, getting so dogs I know, don't work. An ASIC cylinder goes fairly easily. This is in my smoking days. I went back to the van, had a sprig of coffee, had a fag, go back up that door, and no word of a lie, the second tap of that bump key, that went straight away. So as I said, even though I can have off days, it's just one of those things. We all know with a pick gun, you can go with one day and it'll open in seconds, another day you think, God, whatever's happening? Nothing's working today. It happens to us all. On a final note, before we go into questions, if you want to go onto the website, which is www.bumpkeysforyou.com, on checkout there'll be a box where you can put a discount code. If you type in webinar in capital letters, WEBINAR, that will give you a 10% off anything that is up in the basket. If you go over £100, you get free postage on that as well, which saves you another £5 or whatever, as well as the 10%. And if it goes over £100, you type in bump key to get that free postage. Just trying to think if I've covered anything else I want to cover. I don't think so. I think that's not bad really for an hour. No, I don't bother with that. So we'll just have 5-10 minutes on questions and answers, please. Thank you, Mark. Switch our camera so I can hear them.
Okay. It's Gavin here. Thanks very much, Mark. That was brilliant. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can, yeah.
People have been asking questions in the chat as we asked them to. So there's a few here. I can read a couple out for you. The first one I have is from Paul Laird, which is there a difference between rake keys and bump keys?
Yes. Yes, with rake keys, you're literally pulling them in and out, and they all tend to be cut at a smoother cut than what a bump key would. A bump key works on the snap action of throwing all the pins up, and then as they drop and separate, you will cause the sort of bump key flies up, yeah, and then, hang on, let me do it this way, yeah. As the bump key goes up, it does that, the pins separate, and then that is when the barrel will turn. Rake keys is more of a an individual pick and rake and way of doing it. Yeah, where bumping is not. I wouldn't class bumping as raking the cylinder.
Cool. There's another one here from Dara. He's asking, is there a better combination of cuts for a multi-lock MT5 as a bump key?
MT5 will not bump, will it? I
I
don't
think it's sidebars as well.
It's got sidebars, isn't it? MT5, the new MT5, I think.
I believe MT5 Plus has the sidebar, and then the MT5 is a standard pin-in. It is pin-in-pin, but no sliders.
No, the pin-in, that should bump, then just go to the deepest cut, as long as you've got the blank with the pin-in-pin. That we did have one, that's not an MT5 though, is it?
Well, it's interactive.
Interactive. There's an interactive bump, okay, but I have never tried on an MT5. If anybody wants to send me one with working keys, I can always have a go at bumping it and send a bump key back with it and test it. Any lock that anybody ever questions, can it be bumped? Like I said, if you send it to me, working key, working lock, we will take it apart, try and make a bump key, and we'll always send. If we succeed in making a bump key, you will get a free bump key from sending us that lock.
Fantastic. And question from John Young is asking, why is there different bump keys for each make of lock, and how do you tell what make if there's no, I guess that's supposed to say logo on the lock?
If there's no logo on the lock, it's probably not that high quality a lock. 5 and 6 pin blank, or if you put a rake in, you can count it. Or if you've got a 5 pin bump key or 6 pin bump key that goes in the lock, you'll know that it's 5 or 6 pin, but how far the key goes in. The WMS used to do a short 5 pin, a normal 5 pin, and then a 6 pin. You can soon tell the difference between a short 5, standard 5, and a 6. If there's no logo on it, you just have to recognise key sections. As I said, we all know what a 1A section looks like. And like I said, a lot of bump keys are, what's the word? They're not specific for that one lock. If it goes in, if in that key section, there's a good chance. Merchant, Carlef, Era, Cheap Era, Versa, they're all near enough the same section. Yeah, I think the Versa bump key, everybody said it seemed to open everything that it will go in. So there you go. It just shows you that they're universal. They're not specific, although we list them specific for you to buy the key which you're struggling with on a certain lock.
Lovely. Also from John, off the back end of that one, I think he also asked there, what locks will the universal bump key open?
If it goes in the lock, that's a fairly standard common.
Yeah, Era, Versa.
The list just goes on. Yeah, it's a common section. That's it's a universal blank, so there's no set list of lock that it will open. Just try it. If it goes in, like I said, there's a good chance it will bump that lock in.
Brilliant. Richard Grant asked, can you show us a PBS one? I do believe you did one maybe on the board, I think, when you were bumping on the wood thing.
The KTM.
That's the KTM, which is...
okay. Oh, you showed it in hand. That's right.
PBS. Yeah, I just showed you it. I haven't got one here set up, to be honest, because I can't show you in that one because the pins are flew out of that PBS one.
Oh, yeah, you're showing us that, yeah. They bump okay, do they?
Yeah,
the older ones do. Like I said, the solid cylinders, but be careful on these newer aluminium ones. Yes, they will bump the aluminium ones, but you can't let the key move forward and back too far. Try and keep the movement restricted on those, because I said if the key is throwing the pins up, it's just going to fly the pins out the top of the cylinder. Just picks one of the cheap. Oh, there you go. Oh yeah, that is the one we was looking at. Look there. But even the 1109 cylinders now, we've all seen it comes with a cap over it now, like a steel cap over the top.
Yeah.
And again, on that cheap cylinder, if it's over bumped, there is a chance that steel cap will fly off, and then everything will fly out the top of the cylinder anyway. Yeah, it's just the quality of the air cylinders now is just going downhill like everything. But the older the lock is, the better quality it is, and probably it will bump easier than some of these cheap aluminium rubbish locks now.
Brilliant. That's it for the questions in the comments there. So I'll just in case anybody else has any more, I'm just having a look for the. I'm pressing a button which allows everybody to unmute themselves. So
Okay.
they'll have to do it themselves if they want to say anything. You have to go onto the option at the bottom and unmute yourself. Oh, somebody says I missed a comment there. Let me have a quick look at that.
Daniel.
I do apologise. I am on my phone here having a look.
I'm just going through it now. GG for me that I come across.
It was about picking up the cam, I think.
Ah, there you go. Yeah, I guess I saw it initially, but I thought it was already covered, I think.
Who
Yes.
asked that? Richard?
That's Daniel Langley is asking. I bumped a lock the other day, but it wasn't catching the cam. Why is that? Is it common?
It is. You probably either got too many dampeners on, or like you said, you need to push against the dampeners to push the key in further for the tip to engage the cam. If it's bumped fairly easily, just take one off, take the key out. Sometimes you can take the key out when it's bumped. Not all the time, so you don't have to reset it, take the washer off, and then re-bump it. Sometimes when it's turned and it hasn't picked the cam up, like I said, you can take the key out without resetting the cylinder. Take the washer off, and then the key will go in further. Yeah, because you can flip the key as well. I haven't got my tool bag in here, but you can flip a bump key as well. You can just put an attachment on the end of it, and then you use a normal plug spinner, yeah, and then spin a bump key to pick up the cam and push in further.
Brilliant. Okay. Adam's just asked, did you cover GG? And it was covered, Adam. I would like to say, like with all of them, we do record them, and we'll post these onto YouTube for you to watch at a later date as well.
Yeah.
Okay. That's it for the comments in the comment section, I believe. Let me know if I've missed you. But if anybody else has anything to ask as well, unmute yourself and ask Mark while we're here. And if not, then that's it.
As I said, I can always be contacted. I'm sure Gavin will put a link to my email or to the group or whatever. Everyone's welcome.
Absolutely.
Yeah. To join
Any relevant links there that, like you were mentioning, for the website there, where there's codes that you can use. We'll put the links in the description of the video as well that we post, so you can get to that at a later date as well if needs be.
And hopefully everybody's still awake. They haven't gone to sleep, have they? I'm no checking. It just seems so quiet. I thought, I can't believe everybody's so quiet on here.
Thank you, Mark.
No worries. I hope everybody enjoyed it and you've learned something from it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Brilliant. Absolutely.
Okay, I'm going to go and get a drink now. So I'm sweating buckets in here. I appreciate that, Gavin. Thank Mark for giving me the opportunity to show this on here. Yeah.
It's really good, really interesting, and we all appreciate it. Thank you very much.
No worries. Thank you. All have a good day and a good weekend. Catch up soon.
Thanks very much.
No worries. See you soon. Bye then.